Well, here I am in my bunker in an undisclosed location, riding out this lockdown. I'm growing out a scraggly beard, and I haven't worn pants in over a week. So I figured now would be a good time to watch some end-of-the-world zombie movies. I mean, why not, right? So I just revisited the 2004 Dawn of the Dead remake. And let me get this out of the way up front. The original 1978 George Romero film is better. It's a true classic and one of the greatest zombie movies of all time. The remake is not on the same level as the original, but I still liked it, and I wanted to revisit it. So the remake, as I said, came out in 2004 and was directed by Zack Snyder. Yes, that Zack Snyder, who would later give us Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. This was actually his first film. So the movie opens with a nurse named Anna finishing up a busy shift at the hospital. We get a few hints here and there that something is not quite right as she leaves and heads home. Okay, so I have to mention the green hospital. There's lots of green in this movie. Everywhere. It's kind of ugly, but I guess it works with the stylized look and feel of the film. Anyway, Anna and her husband are awakened by the neighbor girl. All seems normal at first until... This entire opening with the chaos of an unfolding zombie apocalypse is very well done. Zack Snyder is at the top of his game here, and it's just fantastic.
And lock all doors and windows. Miller Park is no longer considered a safe haven.
Equally impressive is the opening credits that really set things up. It just feels so real, especially right now with everything going on. So Anna eventually joins up with a group of survivors and they quickly make their way to the mall. It's presented here as more of an afterthought and not some grand plan, which is fine. It's just an interesting choice. So we get some nice zombie action when they arrive, and I guess I really should mention the zombies themselves. They run. This was kind of a thing in the early to mid 2000s, and it was very controversial at the time. But I actually think that running zombies work very well for this particular film and this particular story. And they look great in this movie, more like sick and infected people, which is cool. And the movie has a lot of nice gore effects too. Zack Snyder apparently wanted to keep things as practical as possible, and we really get some nice effects work. There is some CGI stuff here and there, but it's used pretty sparingly and effectively. So our group comes across some security guards held up in the mall, and I love the scene when they watch the news coverage of the unfolding disaster. Again, it just seems so real. Plus, we get some fun cameos from Tom Savini and a few cast members from the original Dawn of the Dead.
Then you gotta burn them. You gotta burn. Daddy! Put another round on that woman over there, look! She's a twitcher!
Eventually, another group of survivors show up, and we end up with a nice little ensemble for this film. There's also a gun shop owner across the way that they befriend and communicate with signs. He's a cool character that we get to know in a unique and interesting way. One thing we don't get in this movie are some scenes with the group securing the mall. All we really get is just one brief moment with a throwaway line of dialogue.
Shatterproof asshole.
That's it. I always love the parts in zombie movies with characters securing their location by boarding up windows and doors and all that kind of stuff. But we really didn't get any of that here, which is a shame. I also would have liked to see more of the characters living in the mall. We do get a montage scene, but I don't know, I just would have liked to have seen the mall location utilized a bit more for this movie. But this particular film has more of an emphasis on action and not so much on characters. Now that's not a knock on the movie. The character stuff is there, especially in the extended cut which is available on Blu-ray. We get just enough to get to know these characters and actually care about them, which is great. But Dawn of the Dead 2004 is primarily an action movie, and it works great for this version, as does Zack Snyder's stylish direction. And I do actually like how some aspects of the movie aren't so overdone. For example, the romance between Anna and Michael is very subtle and handled very well, I think. I know, subtlety in a Zack Snyder film, but it's true, and it's very effective here. There's a lot of great and disturbing scenes throughout the film, including the sequence where a pregnant woman dies and actually gives birth to a zombie baby. Pretty sick stuff. I remember when I first saw this back in theaters in 2004, and at the time it was pretty intense to see just how many zombies there were out there. You have to remember, this was long before The Walking Dead, but I do think it was a bit overdone at the end when they flee the mall. Some of the shots betray their digital roots, and it's just a little too much, I think. I mean, what is there, like a million zombies out there? I was always struck by Anna's line at the end of the film when we discover that Michael was bitten and has to be left behind.
It's gonna be alright.
No.
I've always been a pretty pessimistic person, and that line, especially now, really struck a chord with me. Is everything really gonna be okay? I hope so. I really, really do. The Dawn of the Dead remake is a great movie. It does exactly what a remake should. Take the basic premise of the original film and do something different with it. And I found myself enjoying it even more during this rewatch. One of my favorite filmmakers of all time, Wes Craven, once said that horror films don't create fear, they release it. And in these truly terrifying times, I can honestly say that this is true. Watching horror movies right now, especially apocalyptic ones, makes me feel better. It really does. So, stay safe, watch some scary movies, and let's get through this real-life nightmare. Until my next transmission, this is Steve, signing off.